Test 1 2 1 2. Baik, saya sekali lagi nak menjemput semua tetamu yang berada di kawasan foyer untuk sama-sama kita masuk ke dalam Dewan dan mengambil tempat duduk masing-masing sebelum kita memulakan majlis kita. Baik, jadi sekali lagi, I would like to invite, a very good morning once again. I would like to invite all of our participants. Please do make your way into the hall and please take your seats. We will be starting off shortly. Thank you. And as I mentioned earlier, I would like to share once again. As you can see on the center screen right here on the left and right, you can see we have displayed the QR code. So please do scan the QR code as you will be getting a full itinerary on what's happening throughout these 2 days in the ebook. So our speakers, the topics, and what's coming for tomorrow as well. So everything will be in the program booklet ebook. So all you have to do is just scan the QR code and all the details will be there. Thank you. We will be starting off shortly. Terima kasih. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Okay, that was just a practice. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Thank you. That was just a practice. Thank you so much. You guys are so alert. Okay, so what I was meant to say was, I will give a cue for all of us to rise as we welcome in our guest of honor. Thank you so much. You were all in the midst of having conversation, and with that announcement, all of you were so alert and was all up. Thank you so much. So upon the arrival, I will make an announcement, and we all rise and welcome our guest of honor in. Thank you. You can continue discussing. We'll be back shortly. Tes 1 2 1 2. Baik, saya nak minta kerjasama semua participants untuk boleh tak kita masuk ke dalam dan kita ambil tempat terus. Kita akan memulakan majlis bila-bila masa saja lagi. So once again I would like to invite all of our participants. Can we all come in? Those participants who are still outside the foyer, let's all come in and please take your seats. We will be starting off any minute now. Thank you. Jadi yang baru sampai, yang dah register, saya nak minta semua jom kita ramai-ramai masuk ke dalam Dewan. Kita jemput rakan-rakan, semua delegates ataupun participants. Let's all come in and take our seats. We'll be starting off any minute now. Thank you. Okey, sekali lagi saya nak menjemput semua tetamu untuk masuk ke dalam Dewan. All participants, can we all gather in the hall? There's a few more participants who are still outside the foyer. Alright, so I would like to seek your cooperation. Let us all come in and fill in the hall room before we start off our event any minute now. Thank you. Loceng sudah berbunyi. The magic bell. Okay, let's all come in. Thank you so much. Okey, pada yang baru masuk, saya nak menjemput tetamu yang baru masuk. Kita penuhkan ruangan di hadapan terlebih dahulu. Okey, yang baru saja masuk ke dalam Dewan, kalau boleh kita jangan duduk belakang. Can we get all of our participants to fill in the front seats first? Alright, so let us all come forward and fill in the front seats first. The middle lane, the left lane and the right lane. Saya nak minta jasa baik. Terima kasih di atas kerjasama anda. Thank you for your cooperation. Okay, so I would like to... Okay, And now, can I get everyone to rise, please? Let us all rise as we welcome our guest of honor, and please remain standing until the national anthem, yeah? Ladies and gentlemen, announcing the arrival of our guest of honor, Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Johari Abdul Ghani, Minister of Plantation and Commodities, Acting Minister of Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability, accompanied by all of our distinguished guests. Please welcome. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem of Malaysia. Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Johari Abdul Ghani and all of our distinguished guests, please remain standing for a group photo session. I would like to invite all of our media friends, please be up on the stage to capture a moment with our guest of honor and all of our audience today. So please raise your hands for a thumbs up. Let us all raise our hands. Okay, kita masuk ke tengah sikit supaya semua dapat masuk frame. Alright, thumbs up, big smiles. Okay, did we get a good shot? Thank you. Thank you. You may now take your seats. Terima kasih. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed further, let us begin our conference today by seeking blessings from the Almighty. So with that, I would like to invite Ustaz Muhammad Ilmi Hidayat bin Sabri to lead with a doa recitation. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Hamdan hamidin, hamdan syakirin, hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhika wa azimi sultanik. Allahumma ya Allah ya Malikul Mulk, the Lord who rules over the heavens and the earth. We express our gratitude to you for your permission and abundance of grace, so we can gather and make the Kuala Lumpur Sustainability Summit 2025 a success. Ya Allah, we seek your guidance in every matter. Bless our plans and efforts to advance our nation. Allahumma ya Allah ya Fattahu ya Alim. Guide our leaders who bear the trust and responsibility in governing our nation with the continuous light of your guidance. Lead all of us towards the straight and righteous path that leads to unity, sustainability, and prosperity. Allahumma ya Allah, grant us wisdom and guidance, strength and capability in carrying out our efforts and strategies to achieve the goal of Malaysia Madani. Ya Allah, Ya Mu'min, Ya Muhaimin, We seek safety and well-being for ourselves, our leaders, and our nation from all threats and disasters. Strengthen our determination, passion, and reliance upon you in shouldering the responsibility of advancing our country and religion so that they may be honored and respected. ربنا عليك توكلنا وإليك عنبنا وإليك المصير. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin, amin ya rabbal alamin. Thank you Ustaz for the doa recitation. Terima kasih. Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Johari Abdul Ghani, Minister of Plantation and Commodities, Acting Minister of Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability. Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Huang Tiong Si, Deputy Minister, Ministry Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability. Yang Berhormat Datuk Haja Hanifah Haja Taib, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Economy. Yang berbahagia, Datuk Dr. Ching Tun Anak Lelaki Kim, Secretary General, Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability. Yang berbahagia, Datuk Technologies V. Valuvan Velu, Deputy Secretary General, Ministry of Economy. Yang berbahagia, Datuk Nur Hayati Awang, Deputy Secretary General, Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability. Yang berbahagia, Datuk Mas Rizal Muhammad Hilmi, Deputy Secretary General, Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability, distinguished guests, esteemed partners, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning. I'm Tasnim Faisal, your Master of Ceremony. Would like to welcome you to the very first Kuala Lumpur Sustainability Summit 2025. Can we give another huge round of applause? Thank you. An auspicious moment as we come together to elevate dialogue on climate change and advance the global sustainability agenda. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, with the theme Inclusivity and Sustainability, in alignment with Malaysia's ASEAN Chairmanship, KLSS 2025 aspires to position sustainability at the very core of economic growth, social equity, and environmental stewardship. Ladies and gentlemen, over the next 2 days, the summit will bring together leaders, policymakers, innovators, change makers from across the region to share emerging trends, pioneering ideas, and impactful innovations on sustainability and climate action. So together, we shall explore opportunities, confront challenges, and chart a collective path towards a more inclusive and resilient future for our people, our planet, and generations to come. So once again, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for being here, and thank you for your utmost dedication for this vital cause. We look forward to an insightful and productive sessions ahead. So with that, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to begin our first session this morning, which we will focus on global trends empowering local action. This section brings together global perspective and Malaysia's leadership to highlight how international trends, national strategies, and local actions align in driving urgent and coordinated solutions for climate and sustainability. Without further ado, please put your hands together for Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Johari Abdul Ghani, Minister of Plantation and Commodities, Acting Minister of Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability, for his keynote address.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning. Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Huang Tiong Si, Deputy Minister Natural Resources, Environment and Sustainability. Yang Berhormat Datuk Haja Hanifah Haja Taib, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Economy. Ini dua-dua kementerian, menteri tak ada. Yang berbahagia Datuk Dr. Ching Tu, Secretary General, Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability, Yang Bahagia Datuk DSV Valuvan Velu, Deputy Secretary General, Macro Division, Ministry of Economy, Datuk Nur Hayati Awang, Deputy Secretary General, Ministry of Natural Resources, Yang Bahagia Datuk Mas Rizal Muhammad Hilmi, Deputy Secretary General, Ministry of Natural Resources, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to all members of the media, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome you to the Kuala Lumpur for the inaugural Kuala Lumpur Sustainable Summit, or KLSS 2025. For the first time, we have convened a diverse and dedicated group of policymakers, industry leaders, civil society, global thinkers under one roof, with a singular focus on addressing sustainability as a shared and immediate responsibility for all of us, including the entire nation. On the behalf of the Government of Malaysia, I extend our deepest appreciation to your presence today. Your participation reflects a growing recognition that our region's voice must be part of the global conversation on sustainability as a vital contributor to our economic development. Ladies and gentlemen, KLSS 2025 comes at a defining moment. It is not just another event on the calendar, but a declaration that Malaysia, along with ASEAN countries, especially in the entire region of ASEAN, are ready to take on one of the most crucial challenges of our time and transition from policy discussion to a tangible outcome. In the past, we have been talking this, a lot of theory and philosophy into it. But I think this is a time that everyone must put all together their efforts. How do we able to produce or to show to the world there's a tangible outcome from all the theory that have been discussed over the years? I was informed this summit has been carefully aligned with Malaysian ASEAN Chairmanship in 2025 and is held in conjunction with International Green Tech and Eco Product Exhibition and Conference Malaysia, IGEM. Just now I asked the CEO of MGTC, kenapa tak combine sekali? I think next time you have to plan and combine together, then you can see the impact both of this event and you have more people to come and look at a diverse thing that we have to offer in KL. Together, this platform signifies the beginning of a long-term effort to integrate sustainability into the core of national policy and economy development. A key objective of KLSS is to deliver outcomes that are grounded and measurable, consistent with the ASEAN theme for 2025, which centers on inclusivity and sustainability. We believe in creating an environment where shared dialogue translates into shared responsibility and where diverse voices contribute to collective solution. The pursuit of growth without environmental responsibility or sustainability without economic realism risks creating models that are short-lived. Over the last 2 decades, Malaysia has undergone a profound transformation. We have expanded our economy, broadened our middle class, and deepened our industrial base. Concurrently, we have maintained around 54% of our land mass under a forest cover, making us one of the few developing nations to industrialize while maintaining the high level of natural capital. Balancing socio-economy and environmental pursuit require deliberate policy choices, long-term planning, and the discipline to pursue structural reforms that are necessary. We have placed strong emphasis on ensuring a just transition within the energy sector, which is the primary source of Malaysia's carbon emission, accounting of approximately 80% of a total greenhouse gas output. Today, renewable sources, particularly from solar and hydropower, contribute about 31% of the nation's installed capacity. Distinguished guests, the National Energy Transition Roadmap not only prioritizes supply diversification, but also advances grid modernization and demand-side efficiency. This ensures that transition remains both technologically robust and economically sustainable. Malaysia's energy transition journey will certainly face challenges ahead. As a developing nation, we continue to strengthen existing industries and create a new economy opportunities to our people. Achieving this goal will require close coordination among a broad range of stakeholders, including government agencies, businesses, financial institutions, and communities covering multiple sectors such as energy, transport, and beyond. As climate resilience is not merely an environmental investment, it requires a redesigned financial architecture. Our preliminary estimate suggests that ASEAN need a climate finance which approximately estimated to be USD 422 billion by 2030. To meet our long-term climate and development goals. This will necessitate innovation, an innovative instrument, blended financing model, and above all, policy certainty that give investors the confidence to take the long-term view. Today we have experience, we have been talking about climate change, we talk about how this climate change will change the world. And you have a new US president, they don't believe this. So when they don't believe this, you just made it in a developing country like us, we need, together with all the ASEAN members, to raise the money when a developed nation, developed countries don't subscribe for this. This is something that I think we need to have a look at it. We need to try to play, the rest of us, we have to play a part in this world in order to make sure that US will come back to us and understand climate change is an important agenda for the world. While the scale of investment is significant, the cost of inaction is far higher. If we don't do anything, the cost is much higher in the future. Across the region, we are already witnessing how climate change has affected food security, energy pricing, supply chains, and public health. Hence, climate action must be deliberately structured, integrated, and underpinned by institutional reform to ensure that national development can be both regenerative and inclusive. Ladies and gentlemen, despite contributing only 0.69% of global carbon emission, not even 1%, Malaysia has committed to build a national climate strategy that is credible and feasible. At the heart of our commitment is our pledge to reduce the carbon intensity of our economy by 45% by 2030. relative to 2005. Most recent reports have indicated that we have so far achieved 37.1%. That is based on what the measurement that we have done in 2021. A progress made through consistent sector-wide effort in energy efficiency, clean mobility, and land use management. When it comes to the land use management, I would say the Ministry of Plantation and Commodities are among the first to initiate this by imposing to all the palm oil players or palm oil industries players that immediate effect after I joined that ministry, I said no more deforestation for you to plant palm oil. And everyone at first was shocked and was asking where this minister come from. And I told them, I said, look, we have 5.7 million hectares. What else you want? What we need to do, you focus on how do we maximize the use of 5.7 million hectares, how do we increase the yield, how you bring the good agricultural practices, how you bring to make sure that you embrace all our inefficient smallholders and work together and stay put with 5.7 million hectares, and we now see the result. We are increasing our yield year by year. So this is what I said that, it's not about land use for you to maximize your production. It's about looking at a different way, how do you increase your production. This trajectory is guided by our nationally determined contribution, or NDC, roadmap, which outlines sectoral strategies and implementation pathway. More importantly, it is supported by institutional alignment, ensuring that the climate transition does not sit in isolation from national planning, fiscal policy, or industrial development. To reinforce this alignment, we are preparing to introduce a National Climate Change Bill, or short form of RUPIN, a legislative framework that will provide a comprehensive guide on climate governance, reporting obligation, and institutional coordination. So kita kena ada climate governance, kita kena ada reporting obligation, and we need an institutional coordination, an agency that can implement and coordinate the whole structure of how do we manage all this NDC going forward. If we don't have this legislative framework, as usual, all businesses, business entity, when you ask them to submit, I don't think they will submit. Same thing like in our case, every public listed company must produce an audited account on time. Kalau dia tak registered as a public listed company, they submit but not on time. So this reporting obligation is also important for everyone to adhere to the structure reform that we make through legislative framework. Once this legislation is tabled in Parliament, this bill will give Malaysia the necessary legal backbone to manage climate risk and track long-term progress in a consistent and transparent manner. It also signals a shift from voluntary participation to accountability or compliance way of we achieving this. Complementing this is the development of the National Carbon Policy, a strategy that will guide the establishment of both compliance-based and voluntary carbon market. Our goal is to ensure that trading mechanisms are underpinned by environmental integrity, market credibility, and alignment with international standards. The policy is designed to enable emission reduction at scale, mobilize private capital, and support innovation while protecting public interest. Each of these pillars, the NDC, the climate bill, and the carbon market policy, reflect our integrated, transparent, and objective-focused approach and put everyone in the same level playing field. Malaysia's progress is ongoing, but our direction is clear. We are strengthening the foundation of our national economy with climate resilience at its core. Ladies and gentlemen, the conversation we share here in Kuala Lumpur are guided by purpose, perseverance, and partnership. At the heart of this summit lies the Kuala Lumpur Declaration on Climate Resilience, a collective affirmation of our region's commitment to act together as a group of countries that we call ASEAN. The declaration marks a new phase of cooperation, reflecting our shared determination to advance ASEAN transition toward a resilient and low-carbon future that captures the spirit of cooperation that has brought us together and will guide ASEAN engagement at COP30 and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, as we open this summit, we do so with a shared commitment to place sustainability at the center of our policies, investment, and regional cooperation. For ASEAN, this means pursuing a growth model that is not only inclusive and resilient, but also anchored in long-term environmental responsibility. As climate risks intensify and the global framework evolve, the region must be prepared not just to respond to change, but to shape it, which requires a stronger institution, clearer policy alignment, and deeper cross-border collaboration. Malaysia remains fully committed to working alongside our regional and international partners to strengthen sustainable finance, accelerate the transition to low-carbon system, and promote development that is fair, just, and future-ready. We envision Kuala Lumpur not just as the venue for today's summit, but as long-term platform for strategic engagement, a place where ideas are tested, policies are aligned, and partnerships are built to last. In that sense, the Kuala Lumpur Sustainability Summit KLSS 2025 is a broader architecture to support regional resilience and global relevance. The insight, innovation, and institutional partnership that emerge over the coming days must be translated into action across the ASEAN community and beyond. And hopefully that should be a trigger point between ASEAN and the rest of the world to bring back US to come and acknowledge this is an important subject matter for the world. Therefore, I look forward to the exchanges, partnership, and shared commitments that will emerge from this summit, and I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yang Muhammad, for the uplifting message. Like YB mentioned earlier, it's time to put all theories together and work towards a more tangible outcome, towards a more sustainable Kuala Lumpur. Terima kasih. And now, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we shall resume with our summit this morning with a special address on global momentum, local leadership, accelerating the climate agenda together. From Mr. Selwyn Charles Hart, he's the Special Advisor to the Secretary General on Climate Action and Just Transition, United Nations. A distinguished diplomat from Barbados, he has played a pivotal role in shaping global climate policy and advancing sustainable development. Unfortunately, he's unable to join us in person today, but he has kindly prepared a special recorded message for all of us present here today. With that, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let us all divert our attention to the center screen.
Excellencies, distinguished leaders, colleagues, it is a great honor to address the inaugural Kuala Lumpur Sustainability Summit. I thank the government of Malaysia for convening this important event. We meet at a moment of extraordinary challenge and opportunity. Science leaves no doubt. The climate emergency is accelerating. Last year was the hottest ever recorded. For Southeast Asia, the crisis is not a distant warning. It is a daily reality. Storms, floods, droughts, and heat waves are becoming more intense, more frequent, and more unpredictable. They are destroying lives and livelihoods. The economic toll is staggering. Nearly 2% of the region's GDP, or 86.5 billion every year, is already being lost to climate and weather-related hazards. Excellencies, yet amidst geopolitical uncertainty and accelerating climate disasters, a more hopeful story is unfolding. The clean energy economy is here. Renewables are now the cheapest, fastest, and most secure source of new electricity. They drive growth, create millions of jobs, expand energy access, improve public health, and enhance energy security. 10 years ago, deploying 1 gigawatt of solar took a week. Last year, the world installed 1 gigawatt every 19 hours. And this year, for the first time, renewable generation from wind and solar overtook coal globally. But let us be clear, progress is still not enough. Fossil fuels are not being displaced quickly enough, and the benefits of the renewables revolution remain uneven. The International Energy Agency tells us that only 1 in every 5 clean energy dollars flows to developing and emerging economies outside China, even though these countries represent 2/3 of the world's people. Nowhere is this more urgent than here in the ASEAN region. Electricity demand is surging, growing over 7% in 2024 alone. A major driver will be the rapid expansion of data centers. In Malaysia, data center demand could rise to nearly 30% of national power use. Across ASEAN, demand will more than double. This digital future must be powered by renewables, not fossil fuels. The region has the potential to be a global leader in clean digital growth. Excellencies, as we approach COP30 in Berlin, we need action in 2 critical areas. First, all parties must finalize and submit their new nationally determined contributions, or NDCs. We now look forward to Malaysia and its ASEAN neighbors doing so. We hope that Malaysia's plan to phase out coal by 2044, halve coal power by 2035, and reach net zero by 2050 will be captured in its new NDC. Second, COP30 must credibly respond to the ambition gaps in mitigation, adaptation, and finance. That includes a credible path to mobilize the 1.3 trillion annually in climate finance by 2035, as agreed at COP29, with accessibility and affordability for developing countries at its core. Excellencies, this is not a moment for despair, but for determination. We have the technologies, we have the tools, we have the solutions. What we need now is courage, solidarity, and action. Let us move forward, boldly, urgently, and together to build a sustainable future for all. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Selwyn Charles Hart, all the way from Barbados. And now, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we shall continue with our next agenda. However, before we resume, we would like to take this opportunity once again to we would like to thank our guest of honor, Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Johari Abdul Ghani. Thank you very much, YB, for your precious time. And thank you once again for gracing us with your presence. Can we give him a huge round of applause, everyone? Thank you, YB, for joining us today for officiating Kuala Lumpur Sustainability Summit 2025. However, to all of our distinguished guests, please remain in the hall as we shall resume with our next agenda. Thank you once again, Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Johari Abdul Ghani. All right, now please take your seats. Thank you. All right, let's all move on to our next agenda for the day, a sharing session from the UN Resident Coordinator at Interim for Malaysia, Singapore and Brunei Darussalam. He brings into 20 years of leadership experience in child rights, public health, having served with UNICEF to drive impactful programs across the Asia and Latin America. Throughout his career, he has led initiatives on HIV/AIDS, child protection, and community resilience in countries such as Indonesia, Brazil, and Thailand. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Robert Gass. Over to you, sir.
Selamat pagi and a good morning to all of you. Thank you very much for being here. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, partners, sustainable thinkers, and change makers. It's a great pleasure to join you at this inaugural Kuala Lumpur Sustainability Summit. I'd like to start by commending the government and people of Malaysia, and in particular, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability, the Ministry of Economy, and the Malaysian Green Technology and Climate Change Corporation for convening this important platform at such a decisive moment. As Malaysia assumes the ASEAN chairmanship under the theme Inclusivity and Sustainability, this summit sends a powerful message. A message that Malaysia is ready to lead by example, to translate vision into action, ambition into results, and words into the reality of a greener, fairer future. We've just heard Assistant Secretary General Selwyn Hart remind us that the decade of action is entering its defining stretch. Around the world, we are running out of time, but we are not running out of options. Here in Kuala Lumpur, the task before us is clear: to turn global commitments into local progress for Malaysians, for ASEAN, and for our shared planet. Malaysia has shown that sustainable development and economic growth can, and in fact must, go hand in hand. Malaysia's forthcoming nationally determined contribution, or the NDC 3.0, which will be announced ahead of COP30, will reaffirm its commitment to align national action into the world's climate goals. The first biennial transparency report, submitted to the Secretariat of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or the UNFCCC, already demonstrated your dedication to transparency, to accountability, and to evidence-based policymaking. The National Energy Transition Roadmap sets a bold path to net zero by 2050, aiming to mobilize over 600 billion ringgit create green jobs, and to ensure affordable, secure, and inclusive energy for all of us. With the upcoming Climate Change Act and the 13th Malaysia Plan, Malaysia is set to make sustainability the backbone of its development, embedding resilience, equity, and low-carbon principles across all policies, investments, and communities. Taken together, the NDC, the NETR, the Climate Change Act, and the RMK-13 reflect a coherent national vision to grow Malaysia's economy while also and simultaneously safeguarding its natural capital and social cohesion. This is what we mean by leadership. This is what a just and inclusive transition must mean. It means that growth safeguards the planet, empowers people, and secures prosperity, not just for our generation, but for all generations to come. The United Nations stands shoulder to shoulder with Malaysia as a trusted partner, a source of expertise, and a bridge for global solidarity. Together with our national counterparts, we are focusing on three overarching outcomes. First is a more sustainable, resilient, and low-carbon economy. Second is a more inclusive society where no one is left behind. And third, stronger institutions and partnerships to drive the SDGs forward. Across our different UN agencies here in Malaysia, we're helping to turn national goals into measurable outcomes. First, from UNDP through the Climate Promise, this supports Malaysia's NDC 3.0 and its related strategies on just transition, gender, and financing investment, and through the Nature Finance Lab is unlocking private capital for renewable energy and biodiversity conservation. UNICEF amplifies the voices of young Malaysians, the true stewards of tomorrow, empowering them through initiatives like the Langkawi Declaration to co-lead climate action. This last month, I had the privilege of being with youth delegates from across the ASEAN countries who were able to present to YB Minister an ASEAN Declaration from children and youth on climate, which has now been called the Langkawi Declaration. UNEP promotes circular economy models, nature-based solutions, and sustainable consumption to reduce waste and emissions, and together with WHO, FAO, and the WOHA is promoting a One Health approach that links animal, human, plant, and environmental health. And finally, UN Habitat, under Malaysia's presidency of its assembly, is advancing the vision of a climate-resilient, inclusive, and livable cities across the world. Together, all of these efforts are woven into one purpose: to help Malaysia achieve a prosperous, inclusive, and sustainable Madani economy. As chair of ASEAN, Malaysia is well positioned to transform sustainability into a driver of regional progress. This forthcoming Kuala Lumpur Declaration on Climate Resilience has the potential to be a landmark, to be a bridge between the Paris Agreement and ASEAN priorities on energy, on biodiversity, and on adaptation finance. And we've heard that at the global level, 2025 will be a pivotal year. At the Climate Summit in New York last September, leaders admitted that the current NDCs will fall short of keeping global warming below a 1.5 degrees Celsius this century. Leaders also expressed support and strong support for the gaps in NDC ambition and implementation to be addressed at COP30 in Belém, Brazil. Within this critical window, Malaysia's leadership can carry the voice of the Global South, calling for fairness, calling for inclusivity, and calling for equitable access to finance. Because sustainability is not a luxury, it is a lifeline. And the transition to a green economy must be just, one that leaves no worker, no farmer, no community, and no child behind. Ladies and gentlemen, the science is clear. The solutions exist. The financing can be mobilized, and the partnerships are here in this very room. But what we need most is political courage and collective will. Let us all assembled here in this room today, let us make 2025 the year we turn the tide. The year that Malaysia, ASEAN, and the world chooses cooperation over complacency, ambition over apathy, and solidarity over silence. The United Nations will continue to stand with Malaysia every step of the way, to translate policies into progress and commitments into change. As we move toward COP30 together, let us build a future that is sustainable, resilient, and just for every Malaysian, for every ASEAN citizen, and for every person on this planet that we share together. Terima kasih and thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robert Guest, for the thoughtful speech. Terima kasih. And as Mr. Robert Guest mentioned earlier, let us all transform policy into progress towards a more sustainable Kuala Lumpur. Thank you once again, Mr. Robert Guest. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to our next agenda, we do have a very special performance for you that we'll be sharing with you something very significant about our performance actually. So we've had quite a morning, okay? We just want to take it light. We want you to sit back and relax. And the performance which you will witness shortly is got something similar, something to do with sustainability. All right, so speaking on sustainability, we brought in a special performer with this instrument, which is an eco-friendly instrument called sape. Did I say it right? Sape? Yeah. Sape. Okay, that's how you say it, sape. Oh yeah, thank you. That's how you say it. Okay, but it's made out of wood, as you can see, and it's a very eco-friendly instrument. And I would like to share with you, it's a traditional musical instrument from the Orang Ulu community of Sarawak. And traditionally, ladies and gentlemen, this instrument is deeply rooted in the musical heritage of the Kenya, Kayan, and Kalabit tribes, and was once played exclusively during healing ceremonies in the Longhouse. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Sean Sape Boy.
Sayo ka na palilim ko yun ang kalaw na ini. Ako yarap kalaw ng napiklang ila ko lang kumay na niwani. Iha na liling. Hey! that's the first song I play. It's called Liling. Liling is basically a tune that we play, like, we ask people to like come around and dance together. Yeah. So the second song I will be playing is called Sao Songe. That's all for me. Thank you.
Yeah, the end part is the trademark. Thank you, Sean Sape Boy. All right, so the soothing sound of music representing the unique culture of Sarawak brought in here all the way for you in conjunction with Kuala Lumpur Sustainability Summit 2025. Thank you very much once again, Sean. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, let us all continue with the next agenda. Scene-setting national agenda that will be presented by Yang Berhormat Datuk Haja Hanifah Haja Taib, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Economy. So with that, please put your hands together. Yang Berhormat Datuk Haja Hanifah Haja Taib, dipersilakan.
It's pretty bright up here. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Salam Malaysia Madani. Thank you, Puan MC. Yang berbahagia Datuk Dr. Chin Tu, anak lelaki Kim, Secretary General, Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability. Yang berbahagia Datuk Technologist V. Valuvan Velu, Deputy Secretary General, Macro, Ministry of Economy. Yang berbahagia Datuk Yahati Awang, Deputy Secretary General, Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability for Environmental Sustainability. Distinguished guests, esteemed partners, members of media, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Ministry of Economy, I warmly welcome all of you to Kuala Lumpur Sustainability Summit 2025. It is an honor to stand before this distinguished gathering and to share some reflections on how global trends are empowering local action via national agenda. Your presence today reflects our shared commitment to advancing Malaysia's sustainable future. Ladies and gentlemen, why are we here? Why does sustainability demand for our urgent attention, not just as policymakers, but as parents, community members, and stewards of this nation? Looking around, the signs are no longer subtle warnings, but are clear and present realities. Why are floods becoming more frequent and severe? Why does our air quality sometimes choke our cities? This isn't a distant problem for future generations to solve. It is happening right now in our neighborhoods, affecting our livelihoods and our children's health. The challenges run even deeper. How do we ensure that our economy grows? It creates good jobs for all Malaysians. How do we care for our aging parents while building a society that supports the young? How do we bring the gap between those who are leaping forward and those who are left behind? These are pressing human questions that strike at the heart of our national well-being. Instead of how and why, the conversation on sustainability should be shifted to what's next. The need for a resilient, fair, and coherent path forward has never been greater. The choices we make today will define not just our environment, but our economy, our health, and the very fabric of our daily lives. The path to achieving sustainability, however, is not a straight path. It's not a straight line either. It presents a balanced act between the urgent need for economic growth, the moral imperative of social justice, and the global responsibility to protect our planet. While we recognize that these goals support one another, in practice, they often actually compete. For instance, rapid industrial growth can create jobs and income. But if it's increasing carbon emissions or may lead to widening of inequality, the gains may not be sustainable. Similarly, strong environmental regulations protect ecosystems, but if they are implemented without sufficient social support, they can impact livelihoods in the short term. It reminds us that true progress lies not only in prioritizing one pillar over another, but in finding the sweet spot or the equilibrium where economic growth, social justice, and environmental protection are integrated into coherent, forward-looking policies. Ladies and gentlemen, globally, several transformative trends are reshaping the path towards a more sustainable and inclusive future. Malaysia is strongly positioned to align with this global momentum. First, decarbonization as a growth driver. Green technology and renewable energy are no longer costs, but investments in future competitiveness. Global markets are moving towards carbon border adjustments, meaning sustainability is now a prerequisite for global trade. Second, data transparency. Sustainability reporting or ESG disclosure and reporting platform powered by technology enables better measurement and accountability to combat greenwashing allegations. Third, just transition enables by inclusive finance. International financial institutions are shifting to support climate adaptation and social inclusion. Malaysia's green sukuk, social impact bonds, and blended finance models reflects this momentum. Fourth, local empowerment through partnerships. Most successful sustainability stories are community-driven, where local actors adapt global principles to local realities. Ladies and gentlemen, as Malaysia strives towards advanced national status, there is a pressing need to pivot our economic direction. Under the 13th Malaysian Plan, or RMK 13, which outlines our national development direction from 2026 to 2030, structural reforms will enhance productivity, quality jobs, and growth. The Reshaping Development theme embodies Malaysia's renewed vision for a transformative and inclusive growth. Anchored on the three thrusts of economy Madani, namely raising the ceiling, strengthening governance, and raising the floor, the RMK 13 seeks to translate national aspirations into meaningful progress for all. We aim to shift from foreign-led, low-cost manufacturing towards a value creation economy driven by innovation and made by Malaysia excellence, among others. Guided by the 3 dimensions, 4 pillars, and 27 priorities, this RMK 13 framework aims to drive a resilient economy, an inclusive society, and a sustainable environment by 2030. In doing so, Malaysia aligns its development trajectory with the Sustainable Development Goals, or widely known as SDG. The SDG remains our global blueprint, translating international commitments into impactful local actions. But let's be real, with less than 5 years left to 2030, only about 18% of the global SDG targets are on track. This is an average of only 2% improvement every year against close to 7% needed since 2015 to realize the 2030 agenda. Malaysia's performance in the SDG is encouraging as we are progressing faster than the global average, with projections showing that 49% of the SDG targets can be met by 2030. Yet, we must recognize that half of the journey still lies ahead. This is a clear call for us to intensify our collective efforts and implement an acceleration strategy to close the remaining gaps. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in moving forward, we need to build strong partnerships between the government, industry, and the people to rethink how we produce, consume, and protect. We must be ready for any future, including disasters, by building resilience and preparedness into everything we do. Embracing circular and blue economy models, for instance, will open pathways for cleaner growth through recycling, upcycling, and smarter resource use. Remember, our actions ripple outward. A plastic bottle discarded today can become microplastics in our water, harm our marine life, and eventually return to our own tables. This is the butterfly effect of our choices. Let us turn the effect into a force of good, where every small act of responsibility inspires a greater wave of change for Malaysia and for our shared planet. KLSS serves as one of these platforms for dialogue, collaboration, and innovation, bringing together policymakers, industry leaders, academia, and civil society to align Malaysia's sustainability ambitions with global best practices. I encourage every one of you to continue collaborating as we collectively work to elevate our nation with the region. True progress requires the participation of everybody. There is no one-size-fits-all solution, but together, through collaboration, innovation, and shared responsibility, we can create a far greater impact, not just for today, but for the generations to come. Let us commit wholeheartedly to RMK 13 Economy Madani and SDG aspirations as our national agenda, so that together we can shape the sustainable, inclusive, and prosperous Malaysia for present and future generations. More importantly, let the future generations continue the journey of finding equilibrium in sustainable development, keeping sustainability at the heart of our nation's progress for years to come. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yang Berhormat Datuk Hajrah Hanifah Hajrah Taib, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Economy. Terima kasih, Datuk. As Datuk Hajrah mentioned earlier, what I can take back with us is small actions or small responsibilities goes a long way into sustaining, into making Kuala Lumpur a much more sustainable nation. It's actually an act of individual and a collective effort of our entire nation. We still have a long way to go. However, little things like these, small gestures, small actions do go a long way. So with that, thank you once again. I would like to thank once again Yang Berhormat Datuk Hajrah Hanifah Hajrah Taib. She left the stage with reminders, I would say. In between reminders to us, me as a mom, how do I nurture my kids, and all of us as citizen of Malaysia and world over. Thank you once again. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we shall take a short break, and please help yourself to some light refreshments served outside. And before I leave you to that, we would like to also invite all participants to submit your declaration at the pledge wall, which is located just outside the hall. So this is among the effort to collectively affirm our commitment towards sustainability and meaningful action. So with that, we shall adjourn for a short break, and we will resume at about 11 a.m. See you soon. Terima kasih. Thank you very much.